Left for dead by her own kind, she found humanity in the arms of a stranger. The exile's burden. The twin suns of Solterra beat down mercilessly on the cracked earth. Heat waves shimmered across the vast desert, distorting the horizon into a wavering mirage. Across this desolate landscape, the lone figure stumbled forward, each step slower than the last. Nessa's scaled skin, once a vibrant emerald that had been the envy of her Tauran clan, was now dulled to a pale jade, cracked and peeling from dehydration. Her triangular head crest, normally proud and erect, drooped limply against her neck. 3 days without water. 2 weeks since the elders had pronounced her sentence. Corruption must be purged, the head elder had declared, his voice echoing through the sacred caverns. You carry the seed of an outsider. The bloodline is tainted. Nessa's hand instinctively moved to her swollen belly. Beneath the thin fabric of her tattered robe, she felt a flutter of movement. The child within her, half Tauran, half human, was still fighting, still alive. We should be killing you, the elder had spat. But even in your disgrace, you remain Voss's daughter. Exile is your mercy. Mercy. Nessa almost laughed at the thought, but her parched throat produced only a raspy wheeze. What mercy was there in sending a pregnant female into the dead zones with nothing but the clothes on her back? They expected her to die, expected the abomination within her to perish before it could draw breath. Perhaps they would get their wish. Nessa collapsed to her knees, her clawed fingers digging into the hot sand. Her vision blurred as one of her secondary eyelids flickered, trying desperately to moisten her drying eyes. The twin suns seemed to merge into one blinding light as darkness crept in from the edges. I'm sorry, she whispered to the child inside her. I tried to be strong for you. As consciousness began to slip away, Nessa thought she heard the low rumble of an engine. A hallucination. Surely, another cruel trick of the dying mind. No one ventured this far into the dead zones. No one except outcasts and fools. The darkness claimed her before she could feel the rough hands that lifted her from the sand. The first sensation Nessa registered was coolness. Blessed, wonderful coolness against her skin. Then came the sharp, mineral smell of underground water. Finally, pain returned, the throbbing ache in her limbs, the burning tightness of her scaled skin. She was alive. Her eyes snapped open, inner lids retracting to reveal slitted pupils that narrowed instantly against the dim light. She lay on a cot in what appeared to be a small cavern. The walls were rough-hewn rock, illuminated by the blue glow of lumina moss patches. A natural spring bubbled in one corner, feeding into a small pool. Nessa tried to sit up, but her muscles trembled with the effort. A soft whimper escaped her lips. I wouldn't move just yet if I were you, said a deep voice. She jerked her head toward the sound. A human male stood in the entrance to the cavern, wiping his hands on a cloth. He was tall, even for his kind, with skin tanned dark from the Solterran suns. His hair was cropped short, peppered with gray, despite his seemingly young age. A jagged scar ran from his left temple down to his jawline. You're severely dehydrated, he continued, approaching slowly as if not to startle her. I've managed to get some fluids into you, but you need rest. Nessa's hand moved protectively to her belly. The human's eyes followed the movement. The baby seems fine, he said. Strong heartbeat. You Taurans are resilient. She hissed softly, baring sharp teeth. Who are you? Why help me? The human knelt beside a storage container, retrieving a water flask. Name's Riker. As for why, he shrugged. Let's just say I've seen enough death in my lifetime. He offered the flask. Nessa hesitated, then took it with trembling fingers. The water was cool and sweet on her tongue. She drank deeply. Slowly, Riker cautioned. Too much too fast will make you sick. Nessa lowered the flask reluctantly. I am Nessa off. She stopped herself. Just Nessa now. Well, just Nessa, Riker said with the hint of a smile. You're welcome to stay until you're strong enough to travel. Food stores are limited. but we'll manage." Nessa's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Your kind and mine are not friends. Why would you risk helping a Tauran?" Riker's expression hardened. "Out here, those distinctions don't mean much. Survival is what matters." He stood and moved toward the cavern entrance. "Rest. We'll talk more when you're stronger." As he disappeared into another chamber, Nessa sank back onto the cot. Her hand caressed the swell of her belly, feeling the strong kick of her child. "We're safe for now, little one," she whispered. "But remember, trust comes at a price. And humans always collect their debts." 3 days passed in the underground shelter. Nessa's strength gradually returned, though the child within her seemed to grow heavier by the hour. Riker kept his distance, bringing food and checking on her condition with clinical efficiency, but offering little conversation. On the 4th morning, Nessa found him outside, tinkering with a sand cruiser, a weather-beaten vehicle designed for traversing the desert wastes. She watched him work, noting the precise movements of his hands, the focus in his eyes. "You were military," she said. Not a question. Riker glanced up, then returned to his task. "Once." "Which division?" "Frontier Corps, 32nd Medical Unit." Nessa took a step closer. "A healer, then. That explains some things." Riker tightened a bolt with more force than necessary. "I patched up soldiers so they could go back out and kill more of your people. Not much healing in that." The bitterness in his voice surprised her. Most humans spoke of the Tauran conflicts with pride or righteous anger. This man sounded tired. "Why did you leave?" she asked. Riker was silent for so long that Nessa thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he set down his tools and looked at her directly. "Because I started to see the people beneath the scales," he said. "Started questioning orders. Started asking why we were fighting over territories neither species truly needed." His eyes hardened. Military command doesn't appreciate questions. Nessa considered this. Among her people, questioning the elders was equally forbidden. It was why she now wandered the dead zones, carrying her abomination. "The father," Riker said suddenly. "Was he military too?" Nessa stiffened. "He was a traitor. Gyron. He brought medicines from the human territories when plague struck our southern settlements." Her voice softened at the memory. "He didn't see scales when he looked at me. He saw me." "What happened to him?" "When the elders discovered our relationship, they gave him a choice. Leave forever or be executed. I told him to go." Her clawed hand tightened into a fist. "He didn't know about the child. I found out after he left." Riker nodded, seeming to understand everything she wasn't saying. The impossible choice. The shame. The exile. "Your people cast you out because the child is half human," he said. "Would humans have done the same?" "Worse," Nessa replied without hesitation. "In the border settlements, they would have cut the child from me and left me to die. Humans fear what they don't understand." "Not all of us." Their eyes met. Hers yellow with vertical pupils, his deep brown and human round. For the first time, Nessa didn't look away. That night, as they sat by a small heating unit inside the cavern, Nessa watched Riker prepare a meal of desert hare and hearty root vegetables. His movements were efficient, practiced. "You've lived alone a long time," she observed. Riker didn't look up from his task. "Easier that way." "Is it?" His hands paused briefly. "No," he admitted, "but it's safer." "For whom?" Riker didn't answer. Instead, he served the stew in 2 bowls and handed one to her. They ate in silence, but it was a different kind of silence now, less wary, more contemplative. Later, as Nessa prepared for sleep, she noticed Riker standing at the cavern entrance, staring out at the stars. "The elders taught us that humans were soulless creatures," she said softly. "Born of dust, returning to dust." Riker turned slightly. "And what do you believe?" Nessa looked at him, this human who had saved her without reason, who asked for nothing in return. "I believe they were wrong," she said, "or perhaps they never met the right one." In the dim light, She thought she saw his lips curve into a smile. A real one this time. Outside, the desert winds howled across the dunes of Solterra, but within the shelter, two outcasts from warring worlds had found an unexpected peace. Nessa didn't know how long it would last. Tomorrow might bring hunters from her clan, or human patrols, or simply the harsh reality of bringing new life into a world that wanted neither of them. But tonight, for the first time since her exile, Nessa slept without fear. Guardians of the dunes. The twin suns crested the horizon, bathing the desert in amber light. Riker stood at the entrance of the cavern, scanning the barren landscape with practiced vigilance. 3 weeks had passed since he found Nessa collapsed in the sand, and with each passing day, her pregnancy advanced. Soon, the child would come. Inside the shelter, Nessa sat cross-legged on her cot, meticulously crafting a small pendant from scavenged materials. Her scaled fingers, once clumsy with dehydration, now moved with precision. The pendant was taking the shape of an interlocking spiral, a Tauran symbol of protection. For the little one, she explained when Riker approached, "My mother made one for me before I was hatched." Riker nodded, noticing how her emerald scales had regained much of their luster. "We need to discuss what happens after the birth," he said, settling on a crate across from her. Nessa's hand stilled. "You want us to leave?" "No," Riker said quickly. "But this shelter wasn't built for a child. Supplies are limited, and winter storms will make scavenging difficult. Where would we go? My people want me dead. Yours would experiment on my child." Riker's jaw tightened. Not all outposts follow military protocol. There's a settlement at Meridian Cross. Traders, mostly. People who care more about skill than species. Nessa's yellow eyes studied him carefully. "You've been there." "Once. Years ago." He didn't elaborate, but the shadow that crossed his face told Nessa there was more to the story. "Why help us, Riker?" she asked softly. The truth this time. He was silent for so long that Nessa thought he might not answer. Finally, he reached into his pocket and withdrew a small worn holocube. When activated, it projected the image of a woman holding an infant. "My wife, Leora," he said, his voice rough. "And our daughter, Hira." Nessa leaned forward, studying the image. The woman had dark eyes and a gentle smile. The child's features were mostly human, but there was something else, a faint scaling pattern around the temples, barely visible. "She was like your child," Riker continued. "Half human, half Tauran. Leora worked as a cultural liaison between our species. She fell in love with a Tauran scholar. When she became pregnant, they both disappeared. I found her months later, alone, afraid." Nessa's throat tightened. "What happened to them?" "Raid on our settlement. Anti-integration extremists. Human ones." His voice was hollow with old grief. "Leora died protecting Kira. I couldn't save either of them." Nessa reached out, her scaled hand covering his human one. "So I'm your redemption." Riker looked up, his eyes hard. "You're not a symbol, Nessa. Neither is your child. You're people who deserve a chance. That's all." Before she could respond, a harsh peeping sound came from the monitoring system Riker had set up around the perimeter. He moved swiftly to the control panel, his body tensing as he read the display. "Movement, 3 kilometers east and closing fast." Nessa stood, one hand on her swollen belly. "Tauran hunters." "Can't tell yet." Riker grabbed his field glasses and stepped outside. After a moment he returned, his expression grim. "Hover skiff. Tauran design. 4 riders." Nessa's scales paled. "The Purification Guard. They've tracked me." Riker moved with military efficiency, gathering weapons and supplies. "We have 2 options, run or fight." "They won't stop hunting me," Nessa said. "Not while I carry this child." Riker handed her a small pulse pistol. "Then we make a stand here. The cavern has 1 entrance, defensible position." Nessa took the weapon, surprised by the conviction in her voice when she said, "We fight." The hover skiff stopped half a kilometer from the cavern, hovering above the sand. 4 Taurans disembarked, tall, muscular figures with battle-scarred scales in shades of brown and gray. Unlike Nessa, they wore the distinctive bone armor of the Purification Guard, marked with clan symbols. Riker watched them through his scope. They're setting up a perimeter. They know we're here. Nessa peered over his shoulder. The one with the red crest. That's Vorox, my father's second-in-command. He led the vote for my execution. Her voice hardened. He won't take me alive. No one's taking you anywhere, Riker said firmly. They retreated deeper into the cavern, using the natural rock formations for cover. Riker activated a series of small drones, scavenged tech he'd repaired over the years, and sent them out to monitor the approaching Taurans. Through the drone feed, they watched as the hunters methodically advanced toward the cavern. Vorox raised a communication device to his mouth, his voice carrying through the desert air. Nessa, daughter of Voss, by order of the Council of Elders, you are sentenced to purification. The corruption you carry must not survive. Nessa's hands trembled, but her voice was steady when she shouted back, I am no longer daughter of Voss. I am Nessa of the Westlands now, and you have no authority here. Vorox's laugh was cruel. There is nowhere you can hide from judgment, impure one. The human who shelters you will die first, then you, then the abomination. Riker touched Nessa's arm. They're trying to draw us out. Stay focused. As the Taurans approached the cavern entrance, Riker activated a series of flash mines he'd placed in the sand. Brilliant light exploded across the landscape, temporarily blinding the hunters with their sensitive Tauran vision. In the confusion, Riker launched another drone, this one armed with smoke canisters. Dense, acrid smoke billowed across the entrance, providing cover as Riker fired precise shots from his rifle. One hunter fell, clutching his leg. Another took cover behind a rock formation. Vorox, however, moved with the precision of a seasoned warrior. He dodged Riker's shots and hurled a percussion grenade into the cavern. The explosion rocked the chamber, sending loose rocks cascading from the ceiling. Fall back, Riker shouted, pulling Nessa toward the rear passage. They retreated to the inner chamber where the natural spring bubbled from the rock. Riker quickly sealed the passage with a portable barrier, but they both knew it wouldn't hold for long. Nessa leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. They'll kill us both, she said. Not today, Riker replied, checking his weapon. There's another way out, an old mining shaft. It leads to the western ridge, if we can reach the sand cruiser. A violent contraction seized Nessa, driving her to her knees. She gasped, clutching her belly. Nessa, Riker knelt beside her. The child, she whispered, her scales flushing a pale blue with pain. It's coming. Riker's mind raced through options, each worse than the last. They couldn't stay. The barrier wouldn't hold against Vorox's weapons. They couldn't run. Nessa could barely walk. Fighting their way out with a newborn was impossible. The sound of the barrier being breached echoed through the chamber. Hide here, Riker said, helping Nessa into a small alcove near the spring. I'll draw them away. Nessa grabbed his wrist, her claws digging into his skin. Don't, she pleaded. They'll kill you. Riker looked at her, this fierce, proud woman who had endured exile, starvation, and now childbirth, all to protect a life her people deemed unworthy. In her eyes, he saw the same determination he'd once seen in Leoris. I couldn't save them, he said softly, but I can save you. Before she could protest, he placed his hand on her swollen belly. Remember what I told you. Meridian Cross. Find a traitor named Jude. Tell him Riker sent you. He'll help. Another contraction seized Nessa. When it passed, she reached up and pressed the pendant she'd been crafting into his hand. For protection, she whispered. Riker nodded, slipping the pendant around his neck. Then he was gone, moving silently toward the breached barrier. Vorox and 2 remaining hunters burst through the passage, weapons raised. They found Riker waiting, seemingly unarmed. Where is the female? Vorox demanded. Gone, Riker replied calmly. Took the mining shaft hours ago. Vorox's eyes narrowed. You lie, human. Our sensors detect 2 life forms. Your sensors are picking up thermal residue, Riker said. This cavern holds heat. The hunters spread out, searching for signs of Nessa. Riker remained still, watching Vorox with calculated indifference. Why protect her? Vorox asked. She carries an abomination. Neither human nor Tauren. Maybe that's exactly what this war-torn system needs, Riker replied. Someone who belongs to both worlds and neither. Vorox snarled. Philosophical nonsense. Purity must be maintained. At what cost? How many more children will you sacrifice to your precious purity? As many as necessary, Vorox said coldly. He raised his weapon. Now, for the last time. Where is she? Riker's hand moved to the pendant around his neck. I told you, she's gone. Without warning, the cavern plunged into darkness as the lumina moss patches went out. In the same instant, Riker dropped and rolled, activating the small EMP device he'd been concealing. The hunters' electronics sputtered and died, including their weapons. Chaos erupted in the darkness. Riker moved silently, striking with precision learned from years of combat. One hunter fell, then another. Vorox, however, was faster. His clawed hand caught Riker's arm, wrenching it with inhuman strength. Pain blazed through Riker's shoulder as he felt bones crack. He drove his knee upward, connecting with Vorox's midsection. The Tauren grunted but didn't release his grip. You die for nothing, human, Vorox hissed. We will find her. Not today, came a voice from the darkness. A brilliant blue light erupted from the spring alcove. Nessa stood there, her scaled body glowing with bioluminescence, an ancient Tauren defensive mechanism rarely seen in modern times. In her arms, she cradled a newborn child, its skin a mosaic of human flesh and delicate emerald scales. The sight momentarily stunned Vorox, his cultural conditioning warring with his mission. That hesitation was all Riker needed. He broke free of Vorox's grip and delivered a crushing blow to the Tauren's head crest, a vulnerable point few humans knew about. Vorox collapsed, unconscious but alive. Riker rushed to Nessa's side, staring in wonder at the child in her arms. A girl, Nessa said softly, born in battle, like a true warrior. We need to go, Riker said, supporting Nessa with his good arm. The others might wake up. Wait. Nessa knelt beside Vorox's unconscious form. She removed his clan medallion and placed it beside him. I release you from your oath to hunt me, as is my right as bloodkin. The hunt is over. Riker looked at her questioningly. An ancient law, she explained. Even the Purification Guard must honor it. They won't follow us now. Days later, the sand cruiser crested a dune overlooking a bustling outpost nestled between rocky cliffs. Meridian Cross, buildings of mixed architecture, human steel, Tauren stone, and native adobe, sprawled across the protected valley. Will they accept us? Nessa asked, cradling her daughter, whom they had named Lyra, a star visible from both Earth and the Tauren homeworld. Riker studied the settlement. It won't be easy, but they need skilled people here. Your knowledge of healing, my mechanical abilities, we have something to offer. Nessa looked down at Lyra, whose eyes, human in shape but Tauren yellow, gazed back with uncanny awareness. And her, what does she have to offer? Hope, Riker said simply. A future where she's neither one nor the other, but something new, something better. As they descended toward Meridian Cross, Nessa realized the pendant she had given Riker was glowing faintly against his chest. The Tauren symbol of protection. It only illuminated when the wearer had found their true belonging. She smiled, remembering the old Tauren saying, "Home is not where you are born, but where you choose to die." Looking at Riker and the child in her arms, Nessa knew she had finally found her home. Not in clan caves or human settlements, but in the family they have forged through fire and blood in the merciless desert. Together, they would build something new in the shifting sands, a sanctuary for others like them, guardians of the dunes, protectors of the future. And if hunters came again, human or Tauran, they would be ready.